It all began that night when everything changed in an instant. I had just settled into my favorite armchair after dinner, flipping through the evening news. The room was quiet, except for the hum of the television and the occasional creak of the old wooden house settling. Lena, my wife, walked in with a look on her face that sent a chill down my spine. Her hands trembled as she handed me an envelope, the kind you'd find at any drugstore, but inside it held a life-altering revelation. I stared at the envelope. The word, results, printed in bold letters. My mind raced as I slowly opened it, the rustle of paper echoing loudly in the silence of the room. Inside was a pregnancy test, with two bright red plus signs glaring at me. My heart pounded in my chest, and my breath caught in my throat. I looked up at Lena, who was now standing there, tears streaming down her cheeks. "How?" was all I could manage to say, my voice barely a whisper. Lena's sobs were barely audible as she tried to explain, her words coming out in broken fragments. Finally, through the haze of her tears, she told me the truth: she was pregnant, but the child wasn't mine. The father was my brother, Dan. The ground felt like it was shifting beneath me. Dan had always been my closest friend and confidant, and now he was the embodiment of betrayal. I felt numb, as though I were outside my own body, watching the nightmare unfold. With trembling hands, I demanded more details. Lena told me about a night several months ago when we were away on a trip. Dan had been there at the party, and one thing had led to another. It was supposed to be a one-time mistake, she said, but it had led to this. The shock was overwhelming. I needed to hear more, to understand how this could happen, and why Lena felt compelled to betray me with my own brother. Questions swirled in my mind. How could this have happened? Was there something wrong with our relationship? What had driven her to seek solace in someone else? I didn't know what to do next, so I decided I had to confront Dan. My heart was racing as I dialed his number, struggling to keep my voice steady. When he arrived, his face was a mixture of confusion and guilt. We spoke in clipped sentences, each word heavy with the weight of the betrayal. Dan tried to justify his actions, but his explanations fell flat. They sounded like feeble excuses to me, unable to erase the pain I was feeling. The next step was to inform our parents. Seeing the look of shock and disappointment on their faces was almost too much to bear. They were devastated, not just by the news of the pregnancy, but by the betrayal that had shattered our family's trust. In the days that followed, I found myself lost in a whirlwind of emotions. I sought advice from friends and a therapist, trying to make sense of it all. The decision of whether to continue my relationship with Lena or to end it was consuming me. The betrayal was too deep, and the thought of raising a child that wasn't mine with the woman who had hurt me was unbearable. Eventually, I made the hardest decision of my life: to file for divorce. The legal process was a blur, filled with meetings with lawyers and endless paperwork. As the reality of the separation set in, I knew that rebuilding my life would be an uphill battle. I focused on the practical aspects, from dividing our belongings to planning for my financial future. The relationship with Dan grew distant. We were no longer the close-knit brothers we once were. Our conversations became sparse, and the connection we had was irreparably damaged. My family was fractured, and the void left by the betrayal was something I had to learn to live with. As I began the process of moving on, I found solace in new experiences. I took up new hobbies, traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, and started focusing on my personal growth. The path to healing was long and difficult, but I was determined to find joy and meaning in my new life. Eventually, I met someone new. Though the shadow of the past lingered, I was ready to embrace the future and build new relationships. The scars of the past were a constant reminder, but they also made me more appreciative of the trust and honesty that I now sought in all my relationships. Looking back, I see that the ordeal taught me invaluable lessons about trust, self-worth, and the importance of moving forward. Life had been reshaped by the betrayal, but it was also filled with the possibility of new beginnings. The days after Lena's confession were a blur of emotions and turmoil. Each morning, I woke up feeling like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't escape. Every corner of our home seemed to hold a painful reminder of the life we used to share. I tried to keep a brave face, but inside, I was crumbling. The betrayal was a heavy weight that dragged me down, and I found myself unable to focus on anything other than the disarray of my personal life. I spent hours going over every detail of Lena's confession, replaying the events in my mind like a broken record. The questions swirled endlessly. How did things come to this? Why did Lena choose to betray me with Dan? Was our relationship so flawed that it led to this? It was clear that the answers wouldn't come easily. Desperate for clarity, I reached out to my closest friends. I needed to talk, to vent my frustrations and seek some semblance of understanding. Each conversation seemed to deepen the sense of betrayal, but it also gave me a chance to express my pain and confusion. Friends offered support, but the reality of the situation made it hard to find solace. Eventually, I decided that I needed to confront Dan directly. I arranged to meet him at a local cafe, a neutral ground where we could talk without the emotional baggage of home. When I saw him walking toward me, I felt a surge of anger mixed with a deep sense of loss. His face was filled with guilt, and he seemed to be searching for the right words. We sat down, and for a moment, there was only silence between us. Finally, I broke it. "Why, Dan, how could you do this?" My voice trembled as I spoke. "You were supposed to be my brother, my friend. How could you betray me like this?" Dan struggled to find his words, his eyes downcast. "I don't have a good excuse, Mark. It was a mistake, one I deeply regret. I never intended for things to go this far. It was a moment of weakness, and I was wrong." His apology felt hollow. How could a single mistake justify the emotional wreckage he had caused? I wanted to scream, to express the depth of my hurt, but instead, I found myself just staring at him. The brotherly bond we once had felt like it had been severed beyond repair. The conversation shifted to Lena and the future. Dan seemed genuinely distressed about the impact on my life and the future of the baby. "I want to make things right," he said, "even if I know I can't undo the damage I've done. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help, whether it's supporting Lena or helping with the baby." I shook my head, feeling overwhelmed. "It's too late for that now. I don't know if I can ever forgive you or trust you again. This is something I need to deal with on my own." After our meeting, I felt drained. The reality of the situation hit me with renewed force. I realized that I had to take control of my life and decide what was best for my future. Lena and Dan had made their choices, and now it was up to me to navigate the fallout. The following days were spent trying to come to terms with the situation. I began to prepare for the practicalities of divorce, meeting with lawyers to understand my rights and options. The legal process seemed like a maze, filled with forms and regulations that only added to my stress. Meanwhile, Lena's attempts to reconcile were earnest but inadequate. She continued to apologize, expressing her remorse and pleading for a chance to make things work. But her words felt empty against the backdrop of her betrayal. The trust that once held our relationship together was shattered, and no amount of regret could repair it. I decided to seek therapy to help process the whirlwind of emotions I was experiencing. Speaking with a professional provided a space to explore my feelings and begin to heal. It was clear that this was going to be a long and painful journey, but at least I was taking steps to find some peace. As I continued to navigate the legal and emotional aspects of the divorce, I began to see a glimmer of hope. I focused on small victories, finding moments of clarity amidst the chaos. While the pain was still raw, I knew that taking these steps was necessary for my recovery and future happiness. In the midst of all this turmoil, I clung to the belief that eventually, I would find a way to move forward. It wasn't easy, and the path was fraught with obstacles, but I was determined to reclaim my life and rebuild it from the pieces left behind. The days dragged on, each one feeling like a repeat of the last. I was deeply entrenched in the practicalities of divorce and separation. Every meeting with my lawyer, every discussion about dividing our assets, felt like a step further away from the life I once knew. The emotional weight was overwhelming, but I had to push through. Lena's attempts to reach out continued, though they became more sporadic as time went on. She sent messages apologizing, pleading for another chance, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Each message was a painful reminder of the betrayal and the shattered dreams. Her regret seemed genuine, but it couldn't undo the damage that had been done. Amid the chaos, I had to confront the reality of what lay ahead. The prospect of a future without Lena was daunting. I spent countless hours contemplating what my new life would look like. Would I ever be able to trust again? Would I find happiness after such a profound betrayal? I decided to take some time to reflect and recharge. I booked a trip to a quiet cabin in the mountains, hoping that a change of scenery would provide the clarity I needed. The isolation was a double-edged sword. It allowed me to think deeply, but it also magnified the loneliness I felt. In the solitude of the cabin, I wrestled with my emotions. I wrote in a journal, pouring out my feelings and frustrations. I found some solace in this process, though it didn't fully alleviate the pain. The vast landscapes and the serenity of the mountains offered a temporary escape, but the heartache remained. During this period of reflection, I realized that I needed to start thinking about my future in practical terms. I needed to make decisions about my career, my living situation, and my personal goals. The path forward was uncertain, but it was clear that I needed to focus on rebuilding my life. One of the first steps I took was to find a new place to live. I wanted a fresh start, away from the memories of the life I had shared with Lena. I found a small apartment in a different part of town, one that was close to work and offered a sense of new beginnings. The move was physically and emotionally exhausting, but it was a necessary step toward closing one chapter and starting another. As I settled into my new apartment, I began to think more about what I wanted from life moving forward. I reconnected with old friends and made new ones, seeking out social activities that helped me feel less isolated. It was clear that I needed to build a new support network and find ways to engage with life outside of the shadow of my past. The process of divorce continued, and with it came the finality of closing the door on my relationship with Lena. The legal proceedings were a blur of paperwork and negotiations, but I was determined to see it through. Each document signed, each court date attended, brought me closer to the end of this chapter. During this time, Lena gave birth to the baby. She reached out to inform me, but I couldn't bring myself to visit or be involved. It was a strange and difficult reality to accept, knowing that there was a child out there who was connected to me through a tangled web of betrayal and heartache. I wished the baby well but felt that my presence would only complicate things further. Despite the pain, I began to see glimpses of hope. I started exploring new hobbies and interests, finding joy in activities that had once seemed distant. It wasn't easy, and there were many moments of doubt and sadness, but slowly, I felt myself beginning to heal. Looking back, I knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging. But I was determined to face it with resilience. The betrayal had changed me. But it hadn't broken me. I was learning to navigate life's complexities and to find strength in the midst of adversity. Each day was a step toward recovery, and each step brought me closer to reclaiming my happiness and rebuilding my future. As the months passed, I continued to adjust to my new life. The initial pain of the divorce and the betrayal began to dull, though it never fully disappeared. I started to focus on the positives and on rebuilding my sense of self. It was a gradual process. But I began to find moments of peace and contentment amidst the chaos. I immersed myself in new routines and interests. I joined a local gym and started taking yoga classes, activities that helped me regain a sense of control and physical well-being. Exercise became a form of therapy, a way to channel my emotions and find relief from the stress. The discipline of a new workout routine offered a distraction and a sense of accomplishment. Work also provided a welcome escape. I threw myself into my career with renewed vigor, tackling projects with a dedication I hadn't felt in a long time. The sense of achievement and the camaraderie with colleagues were small but significant sources of comfort. It was through this focus on my work that I began to see the potential for a new and fulfilling chapter in my life. Despite my progress, there were still moments when the past would intrude. Memories of Lena and the life we once had would resurface, often triggered by a familiar place or a shared memory. These moments were painful, but they also reminded me of how far I had come. I learned to acknowledge the past without letting it dominate my present. One evening, as I was leaving the office, I ran into an old friend from college, Sarah. We hadn't been in touch for years, but our chance meeting was serendipitous. We struck up a conversation and decided to catch up over coffee. Our talks were refreshing, and Sarah's easygoing nature provided a much-needed reprieve from the heavy thoughts that had been weighing on me. As our friendship rekindled, I found myself opening up about my experiences. Sarah listened with empathy and without judgment, offering support and perspective. Her presence in my life was a reminder that genuine connections and understanding were still possible, even after the pain I had experienced. With Sarah's encouragement, I began to explore other aspects of my life that had previously been put on hold. I enrolled in a cooking class, something I had always wanted to try. The joy of creating new dishes and the satisfaction of mastering new skills brought a sense of fulfillment I hadn't anticipated. It was a way to rediscover passions and interests that had been overshadowed by the turmoil of the past months. Slowly but surely, I started to rebuild my social circle. I attended events and gatherings, meeting new people and forming new relationships. Each new connection was a small step toward regaining confidence and embracing the possibility of new beginnings. It was a challenging journey, but it also opened doors to experiences and opportunities I hadn't considered before. The finalization of the divorce brought a sense of closure. Though it was bittersweet, Lena and I had legally ended our marriage, but the emotional scars would take longer to heal. The process had been difficult, but it marked a definitive end to a chapter of my life, allowing me to fully embrace the possibility of moving forward. One day, I received a letter from Lena. It was a heartfelt note expressing her regret and wishing me well. She acknowledged the pain she had caused and admitted her own struggles in coming to terms with the past. Her words were a mix of apology and acceptance. And while they didn't change the past, they provided a sense of closure. As I read Lena's letter, I felt a wave of emotions. There was sadness, but also a sense of relief. I understood that healing was a process that involved not just moving on, but also acknowledging the past and finding forgiveness within myself. Lena's letter was a step toward that forgiveness, and it allowed me to put a final piece of closure in place. Looking forward, I embraced the journey of self-discovery and growth. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I faced it with hope and determination. The past had shaped me, but it didn't define my future. Each day was a chance to create a new path, and I was ready to walk it with a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. With each passing month, I found myself inching closer to a new sense of normalcy. The pain of the past was still there, but it was no longer the dominant force in my life. I had developed a routine that brought a semblance of stability and even moments of joy. My focus shifted to the future, and I was determined to make the most of this new chapter. Sarah, who had become a good friend, continued to be a pillar of support. Her enthusiasm for life and her genuine care provided a contrast to the darkness of the recent past. We spent more time together, and her presence reminded me that happiness and companionship were possible again. Our conversations ranged from light-hearted topics to deeper discussions about our lives, and each interaction reinforced my belief that connections could be rebuilt. The process of moving on wasn't always straightforward. I found myself confronting unexpected triggers that would bring back waves of emotion. Sometimes, a song on the radio or a place we had once visited together would evoke memories of Lena and Dan. During these moments, I reminded myself that it was okay to feel the pain but that it didn't need to control my life. I had learned to navigate these feelings with a mix of acceptance and resilience. Professionally, things were looking up. I was offered a promotion at work, a recognition of the dedication I had put into my job. This new role came with additional responsibilities and challenges, but it also signaled growth and a new direction. Embracing this opportunity was a step toward solidifying my future and continuing to build my sense of self-worth. Despite the progress, the lingering presence of Lena and Dan in my life still cast a shadow. I occasionally heard updates through mutual acquaintances, and while I tried to remain detached, it was impossible to avoid entirely. Their new life, including the baby, was a reality that I had to accept, even if it was difficult to fully reconcile with. One evening, while attending a social event organized by work, I met Emily. She was warm and engaging, with a sense of humor that was both refreshing and comforting. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and there was an immediate connection that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Emily seemed to understand the complexities of my situation without prying too deeply. And I found myself enjoying her company more and more. As our relationship developed, I was cautious but hopeful. It was clear that Emily was someone special, and while I wasn't ready to dive headfirst into a new relationship, I appreciated the companionship and the potential for something meaningful. Emily was patient and respectful of my past, which allowed me to open up at my own pace. Gradually, I started to envision a future that included someone new, but it was a future built on the lessons I had learned from my past experiences. I was more attuned to what I wanted in a relationship and more aware of the importance of trust and honesty. Emily represented a possibility of a fresh start, and I was determined to approach it with both optimism and caution. The process of healing had taught me that while the past could not be changed, the future was still open to possibilities. I had learned to embrace the good in my life and to cherish the moments of joy that came my way. The journey had been challenging, but it had also been transformative. I continued to focus on personal growth, seeking out new experiences and fostering positive relationships. Each step I took was a testament to my resilience and my commitment to creating a fulfilling life despite the hurdles I had faced. As I looked ahead, I did so with a sense of hope and determination. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace the future, to build on the lessons learned, and to pursue happiness with an open heart. The new rhythm of my life began to settle, and with it came a growing sense of stability. Emily and I continued to develop our relationship at a pace that felt right. We explored new activities together, from hiking trails to visiting art galleries. Each experience was a chance to create new memories and to find joy in the present moment. Emily's presence was a welcome reminder that life could still be full of surprises, even after the heartbreak I had endured. One day, as I was organizing some old belongings in my new apartment, I came across a box of photographs and keepsakes from my life with Lena. The sight of those mementos was a jarring reminder of the past, but it also served as a marker of how far I had come. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to sort through the box, keeping only the items that held positive memories and letting go of the rest. The process was both cathartic and bittersweet. I reflected on the good times we had shared, acknowledging that while they were part of my history, they no longer needed to define my present. It was a symbolic gesture of moving forward and making space for new experiences. In the midst of this, I received an unexpected call from Dan. He wanted to meet and talk. The idea of seeing him again stirred up a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and curiosity. After some contemplation, I agreed to meet him, wanting to address any lingering feelings and gain closure. We met at a quiet cafe, the same place where we had had our last confrontation. Dan appeared visibly nervous, and I could see the weight of his actions bearing down on him. We exchanged pleasantries, but the conversation quickly turned to the heart of the matter. Dan began by expressing his regret once more, acknowledging the pain he had caused. He spoke about the challenges of adjusting to fatherhood and the struggles he faced in reconciling his actions with his own sense of self-worth. His words were earnest, but they did little to change the fact that his betrayal had left a deep scar. "I understand that no amount of apology can undo what's been done," Dan said, "but I wanted to reach out because I've been reflecting on everything. I'm genuinely sorry for the hurt I caused you, and I want to make amends, even if it's just by being honest and taking responsibility." I listened, trying to remain composed. "I appreciate that you've come to terms with your actions. It doesn't erase the past or make things easier, but it's a start. I'm working on moving forward, and I hope you find your own path to healing." The meeting didn't bring about any dramatic resolutions, but it did provide a sense of closure. I was able to express my feelings and receive Dan's acknowledgement of the pain he had caused. It was a small but significant step in my journey toward forgiveness and moving on. As I left the cafe, I felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The conversation with Dan had stirred up old emotions, but it also reinforced my commitment to focusing on the future. I returned to my daily routine with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace the opportunities that lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, Emily and I continued to grow closer. Our relationship deepened, and we began to talk about the future with more seriousness. Though I was cautious, I allowed myself to be hopeful about what might come next. The lessons from my past had made me more aware of what I wanted and needed in a partnership, and I was prepared to approach it with both optimism and a sense of realism. The healing process was ongoing, and there were still moments when the past would resurface. However, I had learned to navigate these moments with a balanced perspective. I acknowledged the past without letting it overshadow the possibilities of the present and the future. My life was far from perfect, but it was steadily becoming something I could look forward to. The road had been long and filled with challenges, but it had also been a journey of growth and discovery. I was learning to embrace each day with hope and to build a future that was rich with potential and new beginnings. As summer approached, my life began to take on a more balanced rhythm. The initial pain of the past had softened into a more manageable ache, and I found myself moving forward with a cautious optimism. Emily and I had been dating for several months, and our relationship had grown deeper. We enjoyed spending time together and had developed a genuine connection that felt both comforting and exciting. One evening, Emily and I decided to take a weekend trip to a nearby coastal town. The idea was to escape our routine and enjoy some time away from the everyday pressures. The drive was pleasant, filled with laughter and light conversation. Arriving at the beach house we had rented, we were greeted by the sound of waves crashing and the sight of a picturesque sunset. It was a much-needed break from the emotional rollercoaster of the past year. Our days at the beach were filled with relaxation and exploration. We strolled along the shoreline, visited local cafes, and enjoyed the simple pleasure of each other's company. The time spent together reinforced the bond we had formed and provided a chance to reflect on our future. We talked about our hopes, dreams, and the direction we wanted our relationship to take. It was clear that Emily was someone I could see a future with, but I also knew I needed to approach it with care. During our trip, I received a phone call from Lena. She had reached out to discuss something important. The timing was unexpected, and the idea of speaking with her again stirred up a mix of emotions. Emily was supportive, encouraging me to have the conversation if it was something I needed to do. I appreciated her understanding and decided to take the call. Lena's voice on the other end was tentative but steady. "Mark, I hope this isn't a bad time. I wanted to talk to you about something important." I took a deep breath. "What's going on, Lena?" She hesitated before speaking. "I've been reflecting a lot lately, and there's something I need to tell you. I've been trying to figure out how to communicate it, but I think it's important that you know. The baby, our son, his name is Alex. I want you to know that I'm committed to being the best mother I can be for him. I'm not asking for anything from you, but I felt you deserved to know." Her words were delivered with a mix of regret and resolve. "I'm not looking for forgiveness or anything like that. I just needed to share this with you." The conversation left me feeling a swirl of emotions. It was a reminder of the life that had continued without me, and it was hard to process the reality of having a son I had yet to meet. Lena's sincerity was evident, but it also brought up the complexities of our past. After the call, I reflected on the conversation with Emily. Her support and understanding were invaluable, and I knew I needed to discuss it with her. I shared the details of the call, and Emily listened attentively. Her response was compassionate, showing empathy for both the situation and for me. "We'll figure this out together," Emily said. "Whatever you decide, I'm here to support you." Her reassurance was a source of comfort. It was clear that while my past was part of who I was, it didn't have to dictate my future. Emily's support allowed me to approach the situation with a sense of clarity and determination. The following weeks were spent grappling with the implications of Lena's revelation. I continued to focus on my relationship with Emily, our growing connection providing a positive contrast to the uncertainties of the past. I made an effort to learn more about parenting and the potential role I might play in Alex's life, all while balancing the new dynamics with Emily. The process was both challenging and enlightening. It required me to navigate a delicate balance between honoring my past and building a future with Emily. I knew that whatever decisions I made would impact not just myself, but also the people I cared about. As summer turned into fall, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey of healing and growth was ongoing, but I was beginning to embrace it with a newfound resilience. I looked forward to the future with hope, knowing that while the past had shaped me, it didn't define my path forward. The support of those around me and the lessons I had learned provided a foundation on which to build a future that was uniquely my own. As autumn settled in, my life felt like it was approaching a new equilibrium. Emily and I continued to grow closer, and our relationship deepened with each passing day. We enjoyed planning our weekends together and looked forward to the future with a sense of excitement and possibility. One chilly November afternoon, Emily and I decided to visit a local farmer's market. We walked through rows of stalls, sampling fresh produce and homemade treats. The crisp air and festive atmosphere made it a perfect day to enjoy each other's company. As we picked out ingredients for a cozy dinner, I felt a sense of contentment and anticipation. During our time at the market, I received another call from Lena. Her voice sounded more tentative than before, and she spoke with an air of vulnerability. "Mark, I hope you're doing well. I know this is out of the blue, but I wanted to talk to you about something important. Can we meet?" Her request caught me off guard. I hesitated for a moment, but then agreed to meet her the following week. The idea of seeing Lena again stirred up a mix of apprehension and curiosity. I needed to approach this meeting with an open mind, knowing that it could bring up unresolved feelings. Emily was supportive as always. She encouraged me to handle the situation in whatever way felt right. "Whatever happens, just remember that we're in this together," she said. Her words provided reassurance and comfort, allowing me to face the upcoming meeting with a clearer perspective. When the day arrived, I met Lena at a quiet cafe. She looked different, more tired and worn, but there was a sincerity in her eyes. We exchanged pleasantries and then got to the heart of the matter. Lena took a deep breath before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation and the impact of everything that's happened. There's something I want to share with you. It's about Alex." I listened intently, sensing the gravity of her words. Lena continued, "I've been struggling to balance everything, and I've realized how much Alex needs stability. I've been thinking that it might be beneficial for him to know you, to have some connection with his biological father. I'm not asking for anything immediate, but I wanted to see how you feel about it." Her request was unexpected. The idea of meeting my son and becoming a part of his life brought up a mix of emotions. I had been processing the idea of parenthood from a distance, but this was a direct and personal request. "I need some time to think about it," I said finally. "It's a lot to take in." Lena nodded, understanding. "I get it. Just know that Alex is doing well and that he's a bright, happy child. I want what's best for him, and I think knowing you could be a positive step." As I left the cafe, my mind was swirling with thoughts. The possibility of becoming involved in Alex's life was both daunting and intriguing. I felt a sense of responsibility and a desire to understand more about what it would mean to be a part of his world. That evening, I discussed the meeting with Emily. She listened carefully and offered her support, acknowledging that this was a significant decision. "Take your time to process everything," she advised. "We'll navigate it together." Over the next few days, I reflected on Lena's request and what it might mean for my future. I weighed the potential benefits and challenges of having a relationship with Alex. It was clear that if I were to be involved, it would require careful consideration and commitment. The thought of meeting Alex and being a part of his life was both exciting and overwhelming. I had to consider how it would impact my relationship with Emily and the dynamics of my own life. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew that whatever choice I made, it needed to be thoughtful and respectful of everyone involved. As I pondered these thoughts, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey of healing and growth was ongoing, but it had brought me to a place where I was ready to face new challenges. Whether or not I chose to become a part of Alex's life, I was determined to approach the situation with honesty and integrity. The future was still uncertain, but I was prepared to embrace it with an open heart. The lessons from my past had shaped me, and they would guide me as I made decisions about the road ahead. With Emily by my side and a commitment to navigating these new complexities, I felt ready to face whatever came next. As winter approached, I found myself reflecting on the choices that lay ahead. Lena's request to be involved in Alex's life weighed heavily on my mind. I had spent the past few weeks mulling over the implications and considering how best to navigate this complex situation. Emily continued to be a steadfast source of support, and our relationship grew stronger through these challenging discussions. One frosty afternoon, Emily and I sat down to talk about the next steps. We had both been considering the impact that my involvement with Alex might have on our lives and our relationship. Emily's willingness to be understanding and patient was invaluable, and her perspective helped me gain clarity. "I've been thinking about what it might mean for us if you decide to be involved with Alex," Emily said. "It's a big step, and it could bring a lot of change. I want us to be prepared for whatever might come up, and I want to make sure we're both on the same page." Her honesty was refreshing. I appreciated her openness and the fact that she was willing to face this uncertainty with me. "I know it's a lot to consider," I replied. "I want to do what's best for Alex, but I also need to make sure that whatever happens, it doesn't negatively affect our relationship." We discussed our concerns and hopes for the future. Emily expressed her desire to be supportive but also wanted to make sure we were both ready for the potential challenges. Her support was crucial, and it allowed me to approach the situation with a more balanced perspective. In the following days, I decided to take a gradual approach. I reached out to Lena to express my willingness to meet Alex, but on terms that would allow for a measured introduction. Lena agreed to arrange a meeting, and we planned to spend a few hours together at a neutral location, allowing for a low-pressure environment. The day of the meeting arrived, and I was filled with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Emily came along for support, which helped ease my anxiety. We arrived at the designated park, where Lena was already waiting with Alex. As we approached, I saw Lena holding a small boy's hand. Alex looked up, his eyes wide with curiosity. Lena greeted us warmly. "Thank you for coming," she said. "This is Alex." I knelt down to Alex's level, offering him a friendly smile. "Hi, Alex. It's nice to meet you." Alex seemed hesitant but polite, his gaze shifting between me and Lena. I understood that this was a lot for a young child to process, so I kept the interaction gentle and light. We spent the next couple of hours at the park, playing on the swings and sharing snacks. Alex gradually warmed up, and I felt a growing sense of connection. The initial awkwardness began to fade as we engaged in simple, enjoyable activities. Lena observed quietly, giving us space while ensuring Alex felt comfortable. By the end of the visit, I felt a mix of emotions. Meeting Alex had been both rewarding and emotional. I saw the potential for building a relationship with him, but I also recognized that this was just the beginning. There was much more to consider and work through. As we said our goodbyes, Lena expressed her gratitude. "Thank you for taking this step. It means a lot to both of us." Emily and I left the park with a sense of accomplishment. The meeting had gone well, and we had taken the first step toward building a connection with Alex. We knew there would be more challenges ahead, but we also felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. In the weeks that followed, I continued to navigate the complexities of being a part of Alex's life. The experience of meeting him had reinforced my commitment to being involved in a meaningful way. It was clear that the journey would require patience, understanding, and open communication. Emily and I remained focused on maintaining a healthy balance between our relationship and the new dynamics introduced by Alex. Our shared commitment to supporting each other and facing these challenges together was a testament to the strength of our partnership. As winter progressed, I looked forward to the future with a sense of optimism. The path ahead was still unfolding, but I felt better equipped to handle the complexities with Emily's support and the lessons I had learned along the way. The journey of healing and rebuilding continued, but it was one that I was now facing with renewed hope and resilience. Winter settled over the city, bringing a crisp chill to the air and a blanket of snow that transformed the landscape. The festive season approached, and despite the cold, there was a sense of warmth and renewal in my life. Emily and I had been working hard to balance our growing relationship with the complexities of integrating Alex into our lives. The holidays were a time for reflection and connection, and this year was no different. Emily and I decided to host a small gathering at our apartment to celebrate the season. We invited close friends, and the evening promised to be a cheerful and low-key event. It was an opportunity to bring a bit of joy and normalcy into our lives. As the day of the party drew closer, Lena reached out again. She suggested a holiday visit where Alex could spend some time with us and get to know Emily better. After discussing it with Emily, I agreed. It felt like an important step in building a more stable relationship with Alex while also giving Emily and me a chance to integrate him into our holiday traditions. The day of the visit, Emily and I prepared our apartment with festive decorations and a warm, inviting atmosphere. We arranged a special area for Alex with toys and activities to keep him entertained. The goal was to create a welcoming environment where Alex could feel comfortable and enjoy the holiday spirit. When Lena arrived with Alex, the excitement was palpable. Alex's eyes widened as he took in the decorations and the array of holiday treats. Lena introduced Alex to our friends, who greeted him warmly. Emily and I made sure to include Alex in the festivities, engaging him in simple games and activities that would help him feel included. Despite the initial shyness, Alex began to open up. We played holiday-themed games, decorated cookies, and sang songs together. It was heartwarming to see Alex gradually relax and enjoy himself. Emily's patience and kindness were evident as she interacted with Alex, making sure he felt part of the celebration. The evening went smoothly, and Alex seemed to have a great time. As Lena prepared to leave, she expressed her gratitude. "Thank you for making this such a special day for Alex. It means a lot to both of us." I could see the appreciation in her eyes. "It was our pleasure. We're glad Alex enjoyed himself." The experience was a positive step in building a connection with Alex. It also allowed Emily and me to see how we could create a supportive environment for him, blending our lives together while respecting his needs and boundaries. As the holiday season continued, Emily and I took the time to reflect on the progress we had made. The challenges were ongoing, but the sense of progress and the connection we had begun to build with Alex provided a hopeful outlook. We knew that the path ahead would require continued patience and effort, but the positive moments we shared made the journey worthwhile. Our relationship with Alex was evolving, and we were committed to fostering a supportive and loving environment for him. The holidays had provided a chance to strengthen our bond and lay the groundwork for future interactions. It was a reminder that, despite the complexities of the past, there was still room for joy and new beginnings. As winter turned into spring, Emily and I looked forward to continuing our journey with renewed hope. The lessons we had learned and the progress we had made gave us confidence in navigating the challenges ahead. With each passing day, we grew more adept at balancing our relationship with Alex and building a future that included him as a meaningful part of our lives. The road to healing and integration was ongoing, but the positive experiences we had shared affirmed our commitment to creating a loving and supportive family. The future held promise, and we were prepared to face it with optimism and resilience, knowing that we were stronger together. As the new year began, I found myself reflecting on the progress we had made. The holidays had provided a chance for Alex to experience some of our traditions, and it felt like a solid step forward in integrating him into our lives. Emily and I continued to nurture our relationship, balancing the new dynamics with patience and care. One crisp January morning, I received a call from Lena. She wanted to discuss some important updates regarding Alex's routine and how we might better coordinate visits. I agreed to meet her at a local cafe, a neutral space where we could have a candid conversation. When I arrived, Lena was already there, sipping a cup of coffee. She looked a bit more relaxed than before, though there was still a hint of apprehension in her demeanor. We exchanged pleasantries and then got to the core of the discussion. "Thanks for meeting with me," Lena began. "I wanted to talk about how things have been going with Alex and to see if we can make some adjustments that might help." I nodded, encouraging her to continue. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Lena took a deep breath. "I've noticed that Alex seems to be really enjoying his time with you and Emily, and that's great. But I think it might be helpful to establish a more regular schedule for visits. It would give Alex something to look forward to and help him adjust better." Her suggestion made sense. I agree. A regular schedule could help him feel more secure and make transitions smoother. We discussed possible schedules and how best to coordinate our efforts. Lena was open to flexibility, and we agreed on a plan that would allow for bi-weekly visits and occasional additional time during school breaks. The goal was to create consistency while being mindful of Alex's needs and the practicalities of everyone's schedules. "I appreciate your willingness to work this out," Lena said. "I know it's not always easy, but I think it's important for Alex." I reassured her, "I'm committed to making this work. I want Alex to have a positive experience, and I think a regular schedule will help with that." As we wrapped up the meeting, Lena seemed relieved. "Thank you for understanding. It means a lot to me, and I think it will make a difference for Alex." The conversation with Lena had been productive and reassuring. It felt good to have a clear plan in place, and I was optimistic about how the new schedule would impact our interactions with Alex. Back home, I shared the details of the meeting with Emily. She was supportive of the new plan and agreed that consistency would be beneficial for Alex. We discussed how we could adjust our schedules and make the most of the time we had with him. The new routine began smoothly. Alex seemed to adapt well to the regular visits, and it was heartening to see him becoming more comfortable and engaged. Emily and I continued to find ways to include him in our activities and create positive experiences. Over time, the relationship with Alex continued to develop positively. The consistency of the visits provided him with a sense of stability, and the bond we were forming felt increasingly genuine. There were challenges, of course, but they were part of the journey, and we faced them with a commitment to supporting Alex and each other. The progress we made during this period was encouraging. Emily and I found ourselves more confident in our roles and more connected as a couple. The experience of integrating Alex into our lives had strengthened our relationship and deepened our understanding of what it meant to build a family together. As winter began to give way to spring, we looked forward to the future with a renewed sense of hope. The challenges of the past year had brought us closer and taught us valuable lessons about resilience, commitment, and the importance of communication. With each step forward, we built a foundation for a positive and supportive future, ready to embrace the opportunities and experiences that lay ahead. As spring unfolded, Emily and I embraced the changes and challenges that came with it. The regular visits with Alex were going well, and we continued to focus on creating a positive environment for him. The transition from winter to spring brought a sense of renewal and growth, both in our personal lives and in our evolving relationship with Alex. One Saturday morning, Emily and I decided to plan a special outing with Alex. The weather was warming up, and we thought it would be nice to spend the day outdoors. We chose a local nature reserve that offered hiking trails and scenic spots, hoping it would be a fun and engaging experience for Alex. When the day arrived, we packed a picnic and set out for the reserve. Alex was excited about the adventure, and his enthusiasm was contagious. As we hiked along the trails, we encouraged him to explore and enjoy the natural surroundings. The day was filled with laughter and discovery, and it was heartening to see Alex becoming more comfortable and open during our time together. During the hike, Emily and I had the chance to talk with Alex about his interests and preferences. We learned more about his hobbies and the things he enjoyed, which helped us better understand his personality and what made him happy. The more we interacted with Alex, the more we felt a genuine connection forming. At one point, we stopped for a picnic near a picturesque stream. We spread out a blanket and enjoyed our lunch together, sharing stories and jokes. Alex seemed relaxed and content, and the atmosphere was filled with a sense of camaraderie. It was moments like these that made us realize how far we had come and how meaningful our efforts had been. As the day drew to a close, we packed up and headed back to the car. Alex thanked us for the day, and his appreciation was evident. "I had a lot of fun today," he said with a smile. "Can we do this again sometime?" Emily and I exchanged pleased glances. "Absolutely," I replied. "We'd love to do more things like this with you." The experience was a reminder of the progress we had made and the positive impact we were having on Alex's life. It also reinforced the importance of spending quality time together and building meaningful connections. The outing was a success, and it gave us all a sense of joy and accomplishment. In the weeks that followed, we continued to plan activities and outings with Alex, always keeping in mind his interests and needs. Our relationship with him grew stronger, and we found ourselves more attuned to his emotions and preferences. Emily and I remained focused on creating a supportive and loving environment, ensuring that Alex felt valued and accepted. The arrival of spring brought new energy and optimism. The challenges of the past seemed to recede, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. Emily and I felt more confident in our roles as we continued to navigate the complexities of blending our lives with Alex's. As we looked forward to the future, we were mindful of the lessons we had learned and the progress we had made. The journey had been demanding, but it had also been rewarding. We were building a foundation for a positive and supportive family dynamic, and we approached each new experience with a sense of excitement and determination. The story of our journey was one of growth, resilience, and love. With each step forward, we continued to strengthen our connections and build a future that embraced the complexities of our blended family. The challenges were ongoing, but the support we had for one another made us confident in our ability to navigate them together. As spring blossomed into summer, we faced the future with optimism, ready to embrace the opportunities and experiences that awaited us. As summer arrived, the days grew longer and warmer, offering a perfect backdrop for new experiences. The time we spent with Alex had become more integrated into our routines, and the bond we had been building continued to strengthen. Emily and I felt more confident in our roles, and we were eager to create more positive memories together. One bright Saturday morning, we decided to take Alex on a special trip to a nearby amusement park. The idea was to give him a day of fun and excitement, and to further cement our growing relationship. Emily and I carefully planned the day, making sure to include activities and attractions that Alex would enjoy. When we arrived at the park, Alex's eyes widened with excitement. The vibrant colors, thrilling rides, and cheerful atmosphere seemed to capture his imagination. We started the day with a visit to the park's main attractions, taking turns riding roller coasters and enjoying carnival games. Alex's laughter and enthusiasm were infectious, and it was clear that he was having a blast. During the day, we made sure to take breaks and enjoy some quieter moments together. We found a shady spot for lunch and chatted about our favorite parts of the day so far. Alex shared his excitement about the rides and expressed how much he appreciated the outing. It was heartwarming to see how much he enjoyed spending time with us and how much he had come to trust and feel comfortable around Emily and me. As the day wore on, we took Alex to a special area of the park where he could meet some of his favorite characters. Watching his face light up as he interacted with them was a joyful experience. Emily and I took turns capturing the moments with photos, wanting to preserve the memories of such a wonderful day. By the time the sun began to set, we had enjoyed a full day of fun and laughter. Alex seemed content and happy, and it was clear that the outing had been a success. As we headed back to the car, Alex thanked us again for the incredible day. "This was the best day ever," he said with a big smile. Emily and I were thrilled to hear Alex's words. We felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that we had created such a positive experience for him. The day had been a testament to the progress we had made and the genuine connection we were building. The summer continued to offer opportunities for new adventures and experiences. Emily and I remained committed to finding ways to bond with Alex and create lasting memories. Each outing, each activity, and each moment shared helped to solidify our relationship and bring us closer together as a family. As the season progressed, we continued to embrace the challenges and joys of our evolving dynamic. The experiences we shared with Alex were enriching our lives and reinforcing the importance of spending quality time together. The summer was a reminder of how far we had come and the positive impact we were having on each other's lives. Looking ahead, Emily and I felt optimistic about the future. The journey of integrating Alex into our lives had been a significant one, but it was also one filled with hope and promise. With each new day, we grew more confident in our roles and more excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. The story of our journey was one of growth, resilience, and love. As we faced the future together, we were ready to embrace whatever came our way, knowing that the strength of our bond and the support we had for one another would guide us through the challenges and opportunities that awaited. The summer had been a time of joy and connection, and it set the stage for the continued growth of our blended family. As summer transitioned into autumn, the cooler weather brought a refreshing change, and our routine with Alex continued to evolve. We had settled into a comfortable rhythm, balancing our time with him and our responsibilities. The bond we had developed was growing stronger, and we looked forward to each visit with anticipation. One September afternoon, Emily and I decided to host a small family gathering at our home. We wanted to create a welcoming environment for Alex and give him a chance to interact with more of our extended family and friends. It was an opportunity to show him how much he meant to us and to integrate him further into our lives. We spent the morning preparing the house, setting up a variety of activities and games to keep Alex entertained. Emily and I were both excited about the event and wanted everything to be perfect. The guest list included a few close friends and family members who had been supportive throughout our journey. When Alex arrived with Lena, he seemed excited about the gathering. He greeted everyone with a smile and quickly settled into the activities we had planned. The house was filled with laughter and conversation, creating a lively and joyful atmosphere. Emily and I made sure to introduce Alex to everyone and help him feel comfortable. As the afternoon progressed, Alex played games with our friends and family, and his energy was infectious. Emily and I noticed how much he enjoyed interacting with others and how well he was adapting to his new surroundings. It was heartening to see him engage so positively with the people who had been a part of our lives. During the gathering, we took some time to reflect on the progress we had made and the journey we had been on. It was a moment to appreciate how far we had come and to acknowledge the support we had received from those around us. The event was a celebration of our growing family and the positive steps we had taken. As the sun began to set and the gathering started to wind down, Alex seemed reluctant to leave. He had clearly enjoyed himself and was reluctant to say goodbye. Emily and I reassured him that we would see him again soon and that we were looking forward to our next time together. Lena expressed her gratitude for the event. "Thank you for making this such a special day for Alex," she said. "It means a lot to him and to me." I smiled and replied, "We're glad you could all be here. It was a wonderful day, and we're happy Alex had a great time." As Lena and Alex left, Emily and I took a moment to reflect on the day. The gathering had been a success, and it had brought us closer to Alex. It was another step in building a meaningful and supportive relationship with him. The fall season continued to offer opportunities for new experiences and connections. Emily and I remained committed to nurturing our relationship with Alex and creating positive memories together. The journey of integrating him into our lives had its challenges, but it was also filled with joy and growth. Looking ahead, we felt optimistic about the future. The bond we were building with Alex was a testament to our dedication and love. Each new experience brought us closer together and reinforced the importance of family and connection. As autumn settled in, we embraced the changes and opportunities it brought. The journey we were on was one of continual growth and discovery, and we faced it with hope and determination. The experiences we shared with Alex continued to enrich our lives and strengthen our commitment to building a supportive and loving family. Winter approached once more, and with it came a sense of reflection and anticipation. The past year had been filled with significant changes, and Emily and I had navigated them with dedication and care. Our relationship with Alex continued to grow, and we were looking forward to the opportunities the new season would bring. One chilly December evening, as the first snowfall blanketed the city, Emily and I decided to take Alex on a holiday-themed outing. We wanted to celebrate the season and create new memories together. After discussing our plans, we chose to visit a local winter festival that featured ice skating, festive lights, and holiday treats. We bundled up warmly and headed to the festival. The air was crisp, and the sight of twinkling lights and decorated trees created a magical atmosphere. Alex was visibly excited, and his enthusiasm was contagious. We started with a visit to the ice skating rink. Emily and I had both skated before, but it was Alex's first time. We helped him put on his skates and offered encouragement as he wobbled onto the ice. Watching Alex navigate the rink with a mix of determination and uncertainty was endearing. Emily and I skated alongside him, providing support and guidance. Slowly but surely, Alex gained confidence, and it was heartwarming to see his smile as he started to enjoy the experience. After ice skating, we made our way to the festival's main area, where various food stalls and craft booths were set up. We treated ourselves to hot cocoa and gingerbread cookies, and Alex was delighted by the festive treats. The warmth of the cocoa and the sweetness of the cookies seemed to enhance the holiday spirit, and we all enjoyed the time spent together. As the evening progressed, we explored the festival's light displays and took a leisurely stroll through the beautifully decorated pathways. Alex's wonder at the holiday lights and decorations was palpable, and his excitement was a reminder of the joy that simple pleasures can bring. We took photos together to capture the memories of the evening. During our walk, Emily and I took a moment to reflect on how far we had come. The integration of Alex into our lives had been a journey filled with challenges and triumphs. This holiday outing was a celebration of our progress and the growing bond we shared as a family. When the festival came to an end, we headed back to the car, tired but happy. Alex's face was glowing with contentment, and he expressed his gratitude for the wonderful day. "Thank you for taking me to the festival," he said with a smile. "I had so much fun." Emily and I were touched by his words. "We're glad you enjoyed it," Emily replied. "It was a special day for us too." As we drove home, we reflected on the positive experiences we had shared. The holiday season had provided a chance to celebrate our growing family and to appreciate the progress we had made together. The memories we created during the outing were a testament to our commitment to building a loving and supportive environment for Alex. Winter continued to unfold, and with it came the promise of new experiences and opportunities. Emily and I remained dedicated to nurturing our relationship with Alex and to creating moments that would strengthen our bond. The journey was ongoing, but the joy and growth we had experienced affirmed our dedication to each other. Looking ahead, we faced the future with optimism and hope. The holiday season had reinforced the importance of family, connection, and shared experiences. We were ready to embrace the challenges and joys that lay ahead, knowing that the strength of our bond would guide us through the journey.